our online seminar. So welcome everybody. My name is Jacek, and as a member of the Meet and Code team, I'd like to just welcome you not only from my side, but also from our partners, Hausstiftens, TechSoup Europe, SAP, and a German Federal Ministry of the Interior. And officially welcome to another online seminar. Super glad to have you here with us today. And if you're new to the series or to the initiative, let me just briefly tell you something about Meet and Code. Meet and Code was launched in 2017 to assist nonprofit organizations in providing digital skills education to young people aged from 8 to 24 years old. And now, 5 years on, Meet and Code has reached more than 175,000 young people across 35 European countries, giving them the digital literacy and coding skills to, let's say, thrive in tomorrow's competitive digital economy. And Meet and Code awards microgrants of as much as 500 euros to local nonprofits to facilitate the digital skills workshops they deliver and so on. And I think that many in our audience today will be recipients of those grants. And to answer the question, why have we launched the Meet and Code online seminar series? So this is an extension of Meet and Code commitment to help nonprofits become more innovative and creative in the work they do. They're designed to inspire all of you, basically, our Meet and Code community, with multiple learnings and insights from great SAP speakers and coaches in the exciting world of IT and coding and digital skills. Let's move to the most interesting part of today's session. We're delighted to have Roland Martin with us today. And Roland is a data scientist at SAP who enjoys design thinking so much that he often has trouble getting his data science work done because he's busy engaging in design thinking training and activities. And Roland's favorite thing about his work is that he can activate both his brain hemispheres by using mathematical logic and creativity at the same time. And from what I know, Roland is a strong believer in sharing knowledge and invests a good portion of his time helping new and soon-to-be coaches to get a grip on design thinking and find their confidence to teach it on their own. And what I love most about your profile on the Meet and Code website is the following. Let me read it. Roland considers himself the Batman of SAP, a data scientist by day, solving hard mathematical problems, and by night he follows his passion of helping teams drive innovation to solve end users' problems and make the world run better. It's an amazing quote. I think we can see lots of things there. And there's a lot to unpack during today's session. And since it will be so much more interesting to hear from Roland personally, I just want to say that we are honored and grateful and super, super glad that you found the time to be with us today. So let's just dive right into today's topic and learn more about innovation powered by design thinking mindset. So Roland, thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Jacek, and thanks for having me here. So before we start to get into the topic, I would like to activate you, because in design thinking we do things a little bit different. So we'd like to do this here. So I tell you a little story. So you see behind me there is this beautiful garden. That is the garden of Joe. Joe is a gardener. He loves this garden. He's really passionate about it. And but there's also Roger. Roger is a rabbit, and he loves Joe's garden as well. And when I say love it, he loves it because he eats the flowers and he really loves to eat them, right? But that's something that Joe doesn't like. So whenever Joe sees that Roger is in his garden, he gets his revolver and starts to chase Roger away. But they are both really fast. So the one time you look at it, they are here, and in the next second they just change, and then they change again. They are so fast. So I would like you all to activate and do this with me. And I know we can't see all of you, but just do it with me. It's with design thinking. The only way to experience is to do it. So raise your left hand as the rabbit and your right hand as the revolver. So. And Jacek, you need You need your thumb up, yeah, right. Otherwise, you can't shoot. You know, you're not that trained in weapons. It's okay. That doesn't matter. Okay, yeah. So now they change the position, and then they change again, and again, and again. So, and the last time, and you can do this as often as you like, and you see it's potentially rather hard to do it if you haven't trained it. So that's exactly a nice segue already into design thinking. So the first thing is, you know, we all have nowadays back-to-back meetings with things and topic switches here and there. So sometimes it's just good to just empty your brain, do something completely different, activate different regions of your brain to just to be open and available for what you're doing next. So this isn't why we in design thinking like warm-ups actually. And the second thing is that this warm-up also shows already like one feature of design thinking. So you hear about the thing and you think like, yeah, that's easy, until you do it. And once you do it, you find out, ooh, it's not that easy again. With that, I would like to move over to the presentation. Okay, so let me see. That works. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so let's start. It's a short introduction into design thinking. What we're going to do today. So when we look at design thinking, what do we mean by that? We look basically at innovation. We want to find where are innovation opportunities, and innovative solutions need to meet like three different key criteria. It's the human needs. That's kind of the desirability. How much do I want something to have it? The business value. That's the viability. So this is like, can we make money without it, or at least does it sustain itself? Because otherwise you're losing money, and that might not be the best thing to do. And the third thing is the feasibility. That means like, is it technically feasible to build it? And here I usually like to put up an example from Starship Enterprise, the beaming, right? Beaming is very desirable. So if you ask me if I would use that, I say, yeah, sure. Because I know, you know, nowadays we are in home office and stuff like that. But before that time, and when it will come again, we need to travel, right? And sometimes you're traveling a long time, and it would be really desirable for me to just in the morning just stand on the pad and say, Scotty, beam me up, and I'm there where I need to be. That's really cool. It's just not feasible right now. Maybe it will be in some years, but at the moment, just not feasible. So no matter how good an idea is, if we can't bring it to life, it's a wasted opportunity. So when we look for innovation, we need to look for the sweet spot, the innovation opportunity, which is, oops, I need to show this here, which is here in the center of the these three dimensions. And if your idea that you have is desirable, feasible, and viable, then you're on a pretty good way to really see this will be something that flies. Okay, so when we talk about design thinking, it's usually a thing that we need to consider that there is the problem that we need to solve. And we want to have something innovative, but how does innovation come up? It doesn't just start with the let's just be innovative. It's just we need to foster it. And how should we do this? There is actually a process behind that. And this is one part of design thinking. That is actually the that you see here, and then three core phases: discover, design, and deliver. Where we say, okay, let's follow this road to come to innovation. And the discover phase here focuses on the problem. So it's a problem space, seeing what exactly is the problem, because nowadays often we just jump too fast into the solution space and say, so here a problem, think it directly like, oh, what would be the solution? And we go there. But we need to analyze the problem, see who really has the problem and suffers from it, and things like that. The next phase is then larger, is the design phase with 3 individual steps, where we really kind of design a solution and also validate this. And we like to talk here about on prototypes and not really like on solutions, because a prototype is something that you can iterate, you validate it and you iterate it. And at some point you think it's good, let's go into production. This is kind of the last bubble here. And design thinking usually is kind of here in the first two of these bubbles, where the third one is addressed then by agile methods to how to bring these things to life. So when we are talking about design thinking, it's usually kind of the discover and design. And let's look a little bit deeper or more generally into it. We have two, let's say, ways how to do this. We go diverging and we can go converging, and we use both of them. And when we talk about design thinking, these two words, design and thinking, they imply something. We want to think like as designers. That means like we're going broad. We're having like lots of ideas. We don't judge them. We just come out with lots of ideas. So we flare. We have a lot of problems. And at some point we say, this is exactly what you see here. So from a problem statement, you flare out, have a lot of ideas. And at some point you say, hey, we have enough input. So let's think on what would be the best. So in here we analytically think and make decisions and narrow down. So we focus and say like, okay, let's focus this one or two problems and then follow these up. And this is the thinking part of it. So it's flaring and focus. And as you can see here, we start with a problem formulation or what do you think that might it be, and come up with another, let's say we call this a point of view, where we say this is the problem where we learned that kind of some user has it. And from there, again, we try to find as much as solutions as possible, and then also converge them again to have our idea and our prototype and something that is testable. And as you can see here, on the left hand, we have the problem space. On the right hand, we have the solution space. And usually what you do in the problem space is you try to address the right question, and in the solution space, create the right solution. Or in short, you do the right things right. That's the idea. So, sorry. So let's come to the mindset of design thinking. So what are the things that we need to keep in mind, that we need to kind of live and do to do design thinking correctly? So the one thing is to practice empathy. What we usually do is we solve a problem someone else has. And you can only solve the problem of someone else if you understood what is the pain for this problem and what are the needs of this person. So we need to practice empathy and say like, okay, well, this might be a cool solution, but it won't help. So perhaps we do something different. So we really focus on the user. It's a user-focused method that we follow. What we want to do is we want to get feedback and really get information and see like, okay, how does it work? What is your problem? Talk with us. Therefore, we need to go out, because if we just sit on our desk, we won't find anything. We need to talk to people. We need to really be active and perhaps also do things. Yeah. And also, like, one of the things is to have fun, right? You know it, whenever you have fun, you're doing things better. And if you don't have fun, yeah, things will get mediocre. We cherish teamwork. That means like we like to work in a team and not just one by one, because we strongly believe that building on each other's ideas is the way to get forward. And if we come up with consensus, that usually kills innovation. So sometimes we need to talk about it different ways, and it's okay to it's okay to be on have different ideas, and so we like to agree to disagree. Because when we narrow down too early, that won't help, because then perhaps we miss the problem. We like and embrace diversity. That means like we won't have to work in a team that with people with different background, because if you put people together that have the same background, same education, same everything, they might have about the same ideas, but once you start putting people together from different backgrounds, this is where innovation really flies. And also be visual. That means like draw things. Sometimes, you know, a picture says more than 1,000 words. So we like to be only visual to share our ideas. Okay. So here comes a question. So this is just to show you what kind of scoping is. Scoping means like we're looking at a problem and see, okay, so what is the problem? So we are always faced like with a challenge where we say this is the challenge we have, and we need to identify what might be one of the core problems. So here the question is, in the Canadian state of British Columbia, you can't take a picture of a man with a wooden leg. Why not? Just think a second. And the answer is you will need a camera to take a picture, not a wooden leg. Yeah, you might have not guessed that coming this way, or other than you know the question perhaps. So, and although this is a joke, it shows a very good. So, what is it? What is the scoping about and the problem space? To understand the question requirements itself, that is key to understand in which direction do we need to go. And therefore, it's very important that we go in this direction and really identify things and see like this is what we understand, and then we can talk about things. So the core question basically is, and I like this slide usually, we to say like, okay, are we all aligned on understanding the problem? So what is the problem? And this is a nice example. So for just imagine the story here. So there's a customer who would like to have a swing in his garden. So, and there are the different views that different people have in a project. So this is how the customer explained it. This is how the project leader understood it, engineer assigned it, and you see all the things, how the customer was built, like that one as a company. And then you see what the customer really needed. So you see that different people might have different understandings of the problem. This is why it's so important to talk about. And one nice fact that we can see here as well. So you see, this is a picture how the customer explained it, and this is what the customer really needed. So we need to be careful that sometimes, even if we ask people what their problem is, they might not really know it, or they might think of it's something else, or they don't describe it perfectly what it is. So you need to get down really to the core of the problem to solve it, and not just cure the symptoms. Okay, so when we are talking about design thinking, there are the question is now, yeah, well, should we do it like all the time? No, the question is when to use and when not. So, for example, if it's the question, ask the 4 questions like, is it a human-centered? Is the problem user-centered? And then design thinking is appropriate if you need kind of to get a deep understanding of the actual people and involvement. Linear methods may be better if there are few human beings involved and in the problem or in the solution, because then you can go like to desktop research and do things. And then how clearly do you understand the problem? If you need to explore and get agreement, then design thinking is very good, because here you really explore. If we understand the problem correctly, clearly, and are sure we're solving it the right way, we don't need it. Yeah, I usually say like, to add 2 + 2, I don't need design thinking, I need math. That's it. The level of uncertainty. If there are many unknowns and like large and small, and you don't know, and the past data is unlikely to help us, then you might want to go into design thinking as well. If the past is a good predictor of the future, then you might go like for data science methods or whatever. And what data is available to you? If there's like a little relevant existing data to analyze, then you want to go into design thinking as well, because one part of it is to get this data. And if you have like several clear sources of analogous data, you can use that. So if that gives you any idea. Just want to check shortly if there are any questions, because I also might have a problem with hearing you. So could someone please speak up just to see if I...
No, I can hear you, Roland, quite well. How about you? Can you hear us?
Yes, yeah, I can hear. It's sometimes a headset connects. I just want to make sure.
Oh, goodie.
That's good. Yeah, thank you. Okay, good. So let's move on. Okay. So one thing is that we want to do, like in research, is we want to learn about the problem, and therefore this is a nice picture. So we can see here kind of the typical. This is a slide about the typical behavior. So what you see here is, yeah, the difference between design and experience. So for example, the design of this park is that there was a nice path here that follows along this way. And what you see here is like a beaten path where people just walk. Why? Because this is taking this route here is just shorter than going here to there. So although the design implies we should do it like this, people say, nah, I want to do it differently. I want to do it like that because that's shorter for me. And that's a good example because sometimes we look at solutions and we say like, yeah, it's a problem because yeah, it kind of solves the problem, but it's too cumbersome or whatever. So we always need to have kind of the end user in our perspective and see what is in there, what we can get from there. And this is also a nice example in this direction to experience a user perspective. So what we also can do or want to do is to experience really what do our end users feel and what is it, how is it for them? Because we need to get the empathy, and the best way to get empathy is doing things, experience things. Then we can have an understanding. Otherwise, we are just, yeah, it's different for everyone, kind of like that. So this is a nice project where a team needed to come up kind of what I wanted to know about the situation of patients when they are in their lying at the hospital in their beds and they are kind of immovable, so they can't stand up. So what you see here, so one of the team just lied in the bed, had a camera to show the people. So this is what you see, or this is what I see. So when others look at it, they always see just what he sees, and everything was like kind of done like that. So and the surprising insight at this point is that this is kind of what the participant has seen like nearly 24/7, kind of, right? So there, if you immobilize, you're just lying at this, and you just can look at the ceiling, a project that says like, okay, how can we make life for people in a hospital nicer, and you want to have like nice colors on the floor, is out here, right? Because they won't see it. So here, one of the big insights is really, if you want to do something for these people, it has to go to the ceiling, because otherwise they won't see it. So how do we find out what our people, what our end users and people need? So we go into interviews, we ask them questions, and from that we come up with a concept that's called persona, and a persona basically is, I usually say, a shortcut in our brain to remember on what is it that we need. And I usually bring here the example, if it says, okay, if you want to buy a birthday present for your significant other, sometimes this is hard enough, right? But this is easier than if you need to buy a birthday present for someone you don't know. You don't even know how old they are. If it's a child, if it's someone in the 20s, in the 40s, in the 60s, living where, you don't know, right? If you don't know, it's pretty hard. But if you do it and do know these, it's easier. And if I just tell you say your significant other, instantly you have a picture in your head. And that's the same here. We create personas to have to create a shortcut in our head about how things, solutions, and problems might resonate with this person, because we don't have access to these persons. We do interviews, but they're not part of our team. We design for others. So here's an example about from a project where we say, okay, we have someone that's from a replenishment background, and it's a replenisher, so the name is like Paul Replenishment. We have something about his personality, kind of demographics, 45 years old, married, and so on, telling with which other roles he works with, and also about his competencies. Like, is he more power user, casual user, all these things. We talk about the main goals and also that he has, and the needs, like this is what he needs to achieve kind of in his job, and the pain. So this is something which is in the way. And I usually say it, we have some needs that we want to get, but we can't get there directly because there's a pain in the way. So one of the tasks could be later then to identify how to get around the pain, or how to diminish the pain, make it smaller in order to increase the need. Means like, this is what you get out of it. This is how design thinking later works. Okay, so as said, these are kind of some of the requirements we have for personas. We would like to share that whenever we are later in the project thinking about the problem or solutions, we can always say like, okay, does this help Paul? This is the reason. I would say, yeah, won't perhaps because he has other needs, and or he has this and that need, and this is not addressed by the solution. So this helps us always to keep the user in our mind, be user-centered. In design thinking, we also focus on the desirability. So you know the three dimensions that we had before: desirability, feasibility, and viability. Here it's usually on desirability. We want to maximize what is in there for the user. And it's a nice statement here from Eric Ries, because if you don't focus on desirability, then you end up in a situation where building something nobody wants is the ultimate form of waste. Why waste time, energy in building something that nobody will buy? So be sure that you do something that people need. Okay, and this brings us to another point. This is dedicate the right time for a task. So sometimes we think, and I hear it very often, that people say like, yeah, well, we understood the problem. We don't need to go to the problem space. Let's just go to the solution space. And then it's like, well, first of all, do you know end users and all these things? And the second thing is sometimes you need time to investigate things. And this is also a very nice example here. What you see here is the quality loss by decreasing time. So the quality of your results will also be poor if you do not allow a lot of time or the right amount of time. So what we can see here is that if this is an artist and we gave him kind of he has like 10 minutes to kind of draw Spider-Man, and you see the picture here. This is when he got like 1 minute, and this is when he got like 10 seconds. I mean, you can see it, and at some point we say, okay, just for a script or something like this, a picture like this would be enough, or a picture like that would be enough, totally fine. But if it then goes into thinking of so how exactly should it work or something like that, you perhaps need more time. And that's the same here. There are you have in a workflow kind of, you have some activity which have like a fixed time. Just think of just to get together as a team. This is some time, that needs some time. Or to interview someone, it will take usually like kind of half an hour or something like that, or even more. And then you need to have like several, and you need to work on this data. So that means like some activities to also not scale linearly with the time allowed. That's a minimum blocker. And whenever you need to reduce the time, you're taking it away from the innovative part, where you have kind of, where you're coming to have solutions or work on solution. And that's really a bad thing. Yeah, and as you can see here, it's a difference if you have like 10 seconds time or 10 minutes time to do something. Okay, so let's go into the next section, kind of, which is like comes to prototyping. I said it in the beginning, we are not doing kind of solutions. We like to talk about prototypes. Why? We want to test our prototypes. And why do we do that? To find out if they work, if they suit a need, or if they avoid a pain, whatever it will be. So we do a prototype, and the cheaper it is, the better. That means like we can go with paper prototypes and just scribbling things and then show it people and ask them, okay, what do you think? We can let them experience things, but the idea is the cheaper the better, because then you get a lot of feedback. You can incorporate this, and with that you can then go into another cycle, because design thinking is never linear. So you remember perhaps the 3 stages with the different phases. What we do is at every point we can go back and say, okay, we failed here, so let's go back, because failure is one of the principles that we say, fail early, fail often. Because we say whenever we fail, we learn something. And with this and what we learned, we can then make better. And this is why we want to fail early. It's not said that we want to fail at all. We just say we accept failure as a means of learning. This is what we want to do here. And then adapt this and continues the process until it's good enough. So here you see a few projects where a little bit of prototyping might have been good to avoid like a few confusions or just a lot of money burned. So for example, I don't know about your behaviors or your things, but if I look at the picture here in the middle, this is not exactly the washroom experience I would like to experience if I'm somewhere. Although I'm a friendly guy and I like to talk to people, there are sometimes some places where I like to be like just on my own. Same here. If you drive here on the street at night, perhaps, and suddenly you directly hit a telegraph mast, I don't know if that is a good experience. So maybe with a little bit of looking in it before, they might have come up with a different idea, or a picture or a bridge that is just where one of the poles is just off, right? Where you can't finish the bridge then. So, okay, when we look at prototyping, we can say great work is never finished, only abandoned. It's like art. What does it say? We shouldn't lose ourselves in doing it over and over and over until it's perfect. It will never be perfect. We need to learn. A prototype enables this learning, but at some point we need to say, I think it's good enough. And then we need to go into a production. And so what you should have is a testable version that enables a discussion. So you take it somewhere, you can talk to people, you get the feedback. That's what you need. And also be aware, a prototype is not the version 0.9. Often it's like, especially with technical prototypes, then in projects, people say, yeah, well, we have already the UI, or we have this already and that. So we use that. So, no, it was a prototype. There might be a lot of changes. So don't rely on what you have as a prototype. You can take directly like 101 into your project. Okay, and now a few tips on and tricks on what you could do and how to innovate in a DT style. So this is exactly now for you if you want to go into projects and you say, well, I'm not educated as a DT coach. I don't have an DT enablement session, whatever it is. But still, there are a few things you can do that are not too far away. So one thing, keep in mind, there's always a problem space and a solution space. And the problem space addresses the question, did I understand the problem? Am I sure that whatever I invest after this point in time is well placed because I understood it? And at some point, it's possible, yes, that you, although all your research, whatever you do, you missed the point, but you did it. And that's the point. You at least tried it, and once you miss something, you can go back and say, okay, this is something I missed, so let's do it again. So, and then only go to the solution space and understand and build your solution. Also aligned in the group. That's what I say, like see the lay of the land of the problem. This is kind of this, what exactly is the problem, right? So you're investigating, you take your sentence that you have and just think of what else could it be? If in there is like, how can we help employees doing this and that? Like say, okay, so what an employee for us? So is this maybe a specific group? Like, can it be like people who freshly joined, like early talents, or is it someone who is with a company like very long, so senior? Is it someone who is single? Is it someone who has family? All these things, it can be different things. So think about these different dimensions to see like, okay, so when I look at this and this one sentence then explodes to a lot of different problems, see like, okay, this is the kind of the space, and let's go for this direction because we think there is something to get, and that might help people a lot. Keep it end user centric. So don't go like, oh, and we could do this and we could do that. So your opinion doesn't count. Don't do something because you think that's cool, and I always wanted to do something like this. If it doesn't help someone, don't do it. Yeah, and even if it's kind of a bit boring, sometimes the solutions that help others are not kind of the leading edge technology stuff. Sometimes they are, sometimes not. You just find out. Keep in mind the flare versus focus concept. So you flare, you try to get a lot of ideas, and you do not criticize at this point of time. It's a yes and attitude that you have. Even if you think that something does not work, and it might be a problem, then you can say like, well, it may not work, but what we could do is like this and that, and you formulate it as what I like on this idea is this and that, and we could even do this and that. And so you're building on the ideas of others. So this is also why we are in a team. It's not just to be there together and just have a lot of, everyone has like lots of individual ideas. It's to come together, think of the ideas, and perhaps you know this, sometimes it's when someone has a cool idea, someone else says, hey, we could do this even and that, so we are building on these ideas. That's what we want to do. Choose your battles, focus on a solution that is small enough to win and large enough to matter, because you shouldn't go into some region where say that would be a very cool solution, but it will take a year. That won't perhaps cut it. So if you think like, okay, it's small enough, so this is something we can achieve within 2 months, and then we can learn from that, and we can do it. Also do things just because they matter, and not just because you think like, yeah, that's cool, let's do it. For having ideas, I usually say like overshoot and then scale down. So for example, if you have a constraint, it's like this is the upper limit. Our solution have to have some barrier. It's better sometimes to overshoot an idea and then scale it down to the point where I say now it fits, than to undershoot and then try to fit like the last 5 or 10%. That's really hard. Overshooting, scaling down is easy. Prototyping, we like it quick and dirty. As I said before, don't invest a lot of time into doing picture perfect sky prototypes and stuff like that. Quick and easy, just a scribble and you build something, let people test it. It should transport a message and convey a feeling. That's what you want. And also for prototypes, burn up. So reading a prototype is not a product. So you need to do it again. It's a vehicle to get information, to improve and to validate. And it's not kind of the one that you say, okay, now we have it and now let's do something with that. Don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid to be perfect, because when you do a project and you never failed, you will never know if it's like, well, were we just lucky, or did we really miss the hard points? And iterate. That means like coming back and testing your assumption, doing things, talk to people, and all these things. And you need to take into account that innovation boils down to actually 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. That means sweat. It's hard work. So that's what you need to. So never be afraid to invest work and time in it. Okay, let's get to some examples in the projects about design thinking. I would like to post here one. This is an object and called MRT. So you can do magnetosphere pictures of the body. For example, it's used with cancer and also some other things, that are a bit not that heavy. And so you lie on this bar, and then you're moved in this machine, and you get pictures back. So this is a really, it's a loud process. I mean, you are fixated here on this bench, and from time to time I needed to have like such a treatment as well. And whenever I was lying there, I just thought of two things, hopefully not to happen. The first one was, hopefully the hospital does not burn down. And the second one, I was praying that the zombie apocalypse doesn't start now, because you're completely fixed there. You can't move. It's, you are totally dependent on other people. And it's really loud. So, okay, having you said this, you might, okay, so what's about that? So the thing here is, if you think of little children, they need to have such a treatment, and especially if they have like cancer or something like that, it's they need to have it to see like where are these the cells and all these things, the parts in the region of the brain or whatever it is. So they need to have this treatment. But just imagine you're a small kid, and you see this large thing, you are fixated there. It's loud, so a lot of people, a lot of children, they get really like kind of nervous, and yeah, they are crying, and when they move, the pictures are bad. So they need to be sedated, and the sedation also is problematic, because they get sick afterwards and all these things. And just imagine when they were going there for the second round, because they know already what's coming up. So it's a pain. So this is Doug Dietz. He was one of the inventors of this machine, and he was thinking like, okay, how can we make this a little bit better? And he said like the best insights we got from kneeling down and looking at the room as a child. And then they found out, wow, it's scary. So how could they transform this? And this is what they came up with. So they transformed the whole thing into a story. They wanted to do this for them as an adventure. So what they did is they told the children that they were going to do a pirate trip on a pirate ship, and they be part of the crew. So even like weeks before they went there, they had the examination. They showed them the room. They told them a nice story of being part of a pirate crew, and that they were gonna bring the treasures to their treasure trove or cave, and it's in the mountain, and they need to sail through a black opening, and there are monsters in there that should shy away every other ship. But in order to not wake them up, they have to be like really silent, lie there and just be silent, and then they can pass through. The monsters will not wake up, everything's fine, and they can put the treasure there. Now just imagine the two worlds that I just described. The one before, where people where they were fixated, they didn't know what to do, it's loud and stuff like that. And now this story. The children were really eager to do this, and it resulted in much better results of the pictures, less drugs they needed to calm the kids, and some even after the treatment said, when can we do it again? That's a total transformation. It was the same thing, but it was a total transformation of the story, from kind of an examination to an adventure. And that's also shows like the power of design thinking, that we sometimes can do something in just putting things around the other way and focus on the end user. It's exactly the same thing, but you look through it through the angle of an end user. Okay, so this was already my last slide, and I'm looking forward to your questions if there are any.
Thank you so much, Roland. I think that was really amazing, and as always inspiring online seminars. I have even one question, but I wait till the end. Now let's move to the question from our participants. We have, do children understand the design thinking? Can we train a team of 10, 14 students in design thinking while still keep it in a manner that is understandable for them?
Okay, yeah, so let me just see that I also see the questions in terms. So
yeah,
the question
on the third.
Yeah, so the question is how to train a team of 10. Is that the question? And then to do this kind of?
I think like the main focus is like children versus design thinking. Like, can we teach them that? Like, is it possible to teach a group of children design thinking and to make it like easygoing and understandable for them?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Now I understand it. Thank you. So it's here. It's the same. It's how you tailor the message. Right. If I do design thinking with grown-ups, I mean, I talk a lot about the theory behind this, and then all these qualities, desirability, feasibility, and all these things. And if you do it with children, you just need to adapt a little bit kind of the wording. And here comes the thing: who do you think are the best design thinkers in the world? I can tell you, it's children. Why? Because they think already in these things. They take something like this and they say, you know, this is a boat and this is a second boat, and the one boat is chasing the other one. For me, it's a pen and another pen. It's they have the creativity. You don't need to inspire it. They just have it. It's just that we grown-ups, we at some point we focus so much on the logic and all these things that we forget to see things in and looking at the cloud, say, oh, you see that? That's a nice butterfly. No, it's a cloud. No, it's forget it. Yeah. So that's the point. Yeah, we need to get back to this stage. And children already, they have this. You don't need to wake this up. They can really do it. And it's I've done design thinking also with children, and it was quite easy to make them understand what we want to do. You just need to work a little bit on the things and say, hey, it's okay, you know, you don't need to judge that. Let's come up with as much as possible. A little bit, use a little bit of different triggers, and then it's perfect. They come up with really cool solutions.
And maybe, do you have any particular advice for a group from 10 to 14 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. And here again, it's you need to focus on who are your end users. I mean, for this, and it's the 10 to 14 years old. So what do they like? Focus on this and use this as a trigger. Yeah, you don't need to tell 14 years old about all I don't I just lost that thought about these technology and stuff like that we use, and then the mathematics behind that, I don't know, and the brain scientific things that you find out about how innovation works. You need to get them. And I tell you, especially, I mean, nowadays the juveniles, they are pretty heavy investing in environment, right? So they are the ones who keep pushing the Fridays for Future and all these things. So you see, there is energy there. So if you get them there, and you just need to pick them up where they are. So they have some desire, some things, and they are willingly follow you to do the things if you help them and show them how to do it. So why not doing a project that, okay, so how can we not save the world, but kind of do our part in reducing the climate risk or something like that. And they will have lots of ideas, and they will love it to work in this manner in building up, because this is something. Or if someone is interested in, I don't know, in cars or whatever it is, that's or something where they are a part of it. If they can take part, for example, in schools, and just to bring them in the driver's seat, they say, so okay, you know, we need to renovate this new room. What is it what you think that we as a school should invest in that you would use, or the place where they spend kind of the breaks? What is it that you need there? Do you need a table tennis thing there? Do you need some other things? What is it? Ask them, and they will come up with ideas.
That's great. That's a great approach, and even that I partially agree with what Florian said, that sometimes school kills this kind of way of thinking and this approach to solving problems. I think that the design method mindset is even more like needed right now in public schools. Another question from Florian: are there any software to help DT design thinking?
Yeah. Okay. So first, you say also, you said, Florian, that sometimes school kills the way of thinking. I think this is partially true, and I think it's not that the schools want it, but it happens to the standardization. There's this. You have these classes. There's math. There's then German, English, whatever it is, and you don't see that the things are interwoven. Right. Nowadays, when I had school, it was like it was strict like this and that. And nowadays it's getting better and better, that they say, okay, so, you know, politics involves like history, involves like geographic things, and all these things, it comes together. And this is where school kind of could benefit also in bringing things together and trying to make or help people think more holistically. Because that was the biggest part for me, to get these barriers out of my head between the different things, and say it all comes together. So software to help DT. I'm not aware of anything there that I could say this is what you need to do. Usually what we do is like kind of we have a DT coach that kind of guides the group. So it's the one, it's for example, me would be someone who's in a group and tells them, okay, now let's try this or let's try that. So they can focus on the content. I usually say the content belongs to the group and the process belongs to me. So it's my task to guide them and tell them, okay, I think we should move to the next stage, or say like, let's try this and that method. It's their part to come up with the ideas. And I'm not aware of a software that can really guide you through this. I know there are some apps that kind of tell you like something about the stages, about the phases that we have, but not like in a big detail.
Okay. And so maybe to just a bit elaborate what you already said. But before that, we have another question. What is the difference between product owner and design thinking person?
It's a good question. So the product owner, when you look at these dimensions of like doing software, for example, or whatever, then will be the product owner is the one kind of who, name says it, owns the product. Means like he says like this must be in, this must be in, this must be in, talks to the customers and get all these things. So from he's kind of looking that from customer side and from the solution side, the things come together. And there's a lot what they have. I wouldn't talk of the differences, but I wouldn't talk of what they should have kind of in common, and that's this user-centric focus. And so a product owner should be also someone who thinks in design thinking manners and think like, okay, not say like, okay, there is this problem, we solve it like this. So like enable this process and say like, okay, what is it that we can do? Maybe get into, okay, we have these requirements. Can we go into a short project to find out if the market needs them, what people would do with this? Also during doing the product, reconnect to customers, ask them, so this is what we have, do testing with them, prototypes and stuff, and get it in. So they nicely come together. I wouldn't say it's two different roles. It would be good as a product owner to have someone then in the team, or get someone in the team who does the design thinking part, so the product owner can act as a product owner. Because if you are the product owner and the design thinking person, or the coach, it's hard for you because you have the two roles, and the team will never know, is he saying this now as a coach or as a product owner? Is he driving his own agenda and all these things?
Florian praises your presentation and conceptualization of that. And just one super quick question for me to elaborate, which you said before, like, I can imagine that the process of implementation of design thinking into a business company and some smaller organizations like schools or like nonprofits is super different. So as Meet and Code cooperates with schools and local NGOs, do you have maybe any idea or advice? What is the easiest and the best way to implement the design thinking system into some small organizations?
Mm-hmm. I mean, what would be a good start is kind of, let's say, to train a few people just of that to act as a design thinking coach, right? So that they know, because usually like there's in every team there's like one coach, design thinking coach, to really help them. As I said before, process belongs to the coach and content to the group. And then, but also you need to kind of empower the people, where we say it's this DT enabling, and just show them, okay, so this is DT, this is how we work, the working style and all these things. So I think the easiest way is to do this. If you don't have access to people like that, this is why I had this one slide with this is what you could do. Because it's like first steps that you could do without even a design thinking training. And just think of this diverge and converge and defer judgment and all these things. If you kind of adhere to these rules, I think you're on a pretty good way.
Okay, great. Do we have any more questions, Roland? As we still have like 3-4 more minutes. That's the last moment to ask anything you want, so feel free. And if not, you can always go back to the presentations and to the lessons and all the messages that Roland showed today on our YouTube channel, and the video will be uploaded in a few days. And as for now, I would like to thank you, Roland, so much for that. I think that design thinking is one of the novelties that should be introduced more widely and broadly in so many different types of organizations and schools, like especially. So I think that that's a great topic, and I hope that Meet and Code will follow going that path, and maybe another online seminar with you in the future. Also, I would like to thank you guys, our Meet and Code audience, our Meet and Code community, for your time and attention this afternoon. I'm super glad that this is our another online seminar. You're still with us, being here, watching, learning new stuff. It's amazing. I hope that you walk away with feeling a bit more inspired and motivated. And I look forward to seeing you at the next Meet and Code online seminar. So just please keep checking our website and social media profiles to just always be updated when, where, what topic, and so on and so on. So thank you so much, and have a good one. And I hope to see you soon.
See you next time. Bye.